This video is going to go over the answers for the exercise on Khan Academy entitled Features of a Circle from its Graph. This exercise was assigned for the first week of distance learning. Now, all questions in this exercise is a two-part question. The first part of the question is always going to ask you what the center of the circle is, and the second part of the question is always going to ask you what the radius of the circle is. And you're going to have to scroll down to see which circle we're talking about. In this case, it's this one. Okay, now to find the center of the circle, the easiest way to do it is just to eyeball it. You're going to have to see which point is in the center of the circle, and you're going to know that because from this point, the radius is always going to be the same. So for example, from the point -6, 4, each part of the circle is about 3 and something units away. 3 and something units away. So in this case, the center of my circle is -6, 4. Now let's find its radius. The circle passes through the point -3, 5, which is this point right here. And we're going to have to find out what the radius is, which is this line being connected from the center to the edge of the circle. Now, what we can do here is we can apply the Pythagorean theorem, because what I can see is that if I make a right triangle, what I'm going to see is that the radius in this case is actually just the hypotenuse of this right triangle. So because of Pythagorean theorem, we know that a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Okay, and c squared, this dotted line, is what we're trying to look for. So let's go ahead and plug in some values. A is this distance on the x-axis, and we know, or we can count, that this distance is 1, 2, 3. So over here we're going to have 3 squared plus b squared, which if we count is 1 unit, that's the change in the y-axis, 1 squared equals c squared, which we don't know yet. So we're going to keep it as c squared. So let's go ahead and simplify. 3 squared is the same as 3 times 3, which is going to be 9, plus 1 squared is the same as 1 times 1, which is going to be 1, equals c squared. Now 9 plus 1, we can simplify to 10. So c squared is equal to 10. Now, at this stage, we're going to have to figure out how to cancel or get rid of that exponent of 2. And in order to do that, we have to do opposite operations. Now, a lot of students at this stage would want to divide by 2, but actually the opposite operation for you to be able to get rid of an exponent of 2 is to take the square root of both sides. This square root is the opposite of squaring something, so we'll be able to get rid of that exponent of 2. So we will be left with square root of 10 is equal to c. Now at this stage, if the number inside the radical is a perfect square, then you should simplify. But since 10 is not a perfect square, we will consider this as our final answer. So square root of 10 is our radius.